We have spent much of the year talking about the physical cliff that threatened our day-to-day operating budget. But SEPTA's capital improvement budget is historically underfunded, causing our state of good repair backlog to grow to more than $10 billion. When you compare that to our peer transit agencies around the country, SEPTA receives half the funding or less for projects such as rail fleet replacements, long-needed ADA upgrades, and other critical infrastructure work. We also had to borrow nearly $400 million from our capital program to ensure we can cover daily operating expenses this year and next. The SEPTA board, many of whom are here today, remains committed to doing our part by demanding physical discipline and accountability across the authority, and continuing with efforts to improve safety and security, service reliability, and customer service. And I am confident that our General Manager, Scott Sauer, his team, and SEPTA's amazing, dedicated workforce will do everything possible to overcome our current challenges. Governor, we stand with you, ready to work with you and the legislature on a comprehensive transit funding solution that will meet the needs of our riders today and for generations to come. And when we return to Harrisburg to continue the fight for public transit, we will be able to highlight a great success story that was made possible thanks to this funding and your commitment to SEPTA. Governor Shapiro, thank you so much for everything you've done for SEPTA and continue to do. We're so grateful to have you in our court.
Thank you. Thanks, Commissioner. Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank Commissioner Moskowitz for welcoming me here to her home county of Chester County. I also want to thank her for her great leadership on the board here at SEPTA. I want to acknowledge all the other board members who are here, including my appointee, Rob Fox, and all of the board members that work incredibly hard every day to support SEPTA. I want to thank Senator Hughes, our Appropriations Chairman, and Chairman Nielsen, our Transportation Chairman in the House, for joining us. You will hear from them in a moment. Of course, I want to thank my partner in progress, Mayor Parker, who you will also hear from in a few moments. Let me begin by just saying how thankful I am to the women and men who work at SEPTA and do this incredibly important task for our community every single day. From those who wear a uniform to keep us safe, to those who inspect rail cars like the ones behind me, to those who greet you when you get on the trolley, each and every member of this SEPTA workforce is super critical in our communities for the 800,000 people that rely on SEPTA every single day. I just got a tour of the work they're doing here at the Fraser shop, and I saw the Silverliner 4s in all their glory and what it takes to get them back to work. This technology, and I am far from an engineer, is antiquated, but it is critically important that while they are operational, they be safe. And the work that is going on here is ensuring their safety. This shop here has been working around the clock over the last several weeks, and they have already completed the full repair of more than 100 rail cars that are now safely back in service. Scott will speak to this later, but yesterday they announced that the evening express trains will resume today with this afternoon's commute as a result of this hard work. You know, over the last several months, I've talked again and again how important mass transit is to our entire Commonwealth, and particularly for our economy right here in southeastern Pennsylvania. As I mentioned before, 800,000 riders depend on SEPTA every single day, including 55,000 students who rely on SEPTA to get to school. I want to put that in some perspective with you. That is nearly 1 million people. We have 13 million people in the entire Commonwealth, and about 1 million of them rely on SEPTA every single day. That's an extraordinary number and an extraordinary service that SEPTA provides. Major employers understand this. They depend on SEPTA to get their workers to and from work, especially here in this community. Think about it. More than 4,000 CHOP employees rely on SEPTA every single day. 12,000 employees at Penn and Penn Medicine rely on SEPTA every single day. 75% of Comcast's workforce rely on SEPTA every single day. Many of them rely on these regional rail cars to get to work. These are workers, these are moms, these are dads, these are students. So many Pennsylvanians who want to get to work, who want to spend time with their families, who want to catch a game, who just want to enjoy this community, and they rely on SEPTA to get around. Heck, when I worked in Center City at a law firm, I relied on SEPTA every day. I got there to and from downtown on the the regional rail, getting on and off at Rydell. And look, I think SEPTA is also critical for those who don't ride it every single day, because our trains, our trolleys, our buses, that keeps cars off of the roads, which means less congestion, which means less pollution, and which means more opportunities for people to get where they need to go by car in a timely fashion. This is critically important to the folks who live here and rely on it every day. It's also going to be critical to the millions who visit Pennsylvania and southeastern Pennsylvania in particular next year as part of America 250, where the eyes of the world are going to be on Pennsylvania, the birthplace of democracy. SEPTA is going to transport millions of additional passengers, whether they're going to the FIFA World Cup, the MLB All-Star Game, NCAA's March Madness for the men's tournament, and so much more that's taken place down in South Philly. Mass transit is critical to our Commonwealth's success. It is critical to our Commonwealth's economy, and it's critical that we invest in it. That's why I have repeatedly stepped up to take action to support mass transit, not just here with SEPTA, but all across Pennsylvania. For 2 budgets in a row, I've proposed recurring revenue to support mass transit systems across Pennsylvania in every single region and every single county of our Commonwealth. Last year, working together with Senator Hughes, Representative Nielsen, and others, we secured $80 million in increased funding for mass transit. Hardly enough, but it was something, and it represented about $46 million that went directly to SEPTA in additional funding. Then, when the Senate wouldn't come to the table to get a deal on recurring funding, I stepped up last year to flex $153 million of funding that would have gone to other road and bridge projects, and instead put it right here in SEPTA for mass transit. This year, the House of Representatives, under Chairman Nielsen's leadership, passed my proposal for recurring funding for mass transit 5 different times. 5 different times they sent it over to the state Senate for their consideration. And importantly, this doesn't get enough attention, but I want you to understand this. As we were fighting for recurring funding, I spoke with each of the county commissioners and the mayor of Philadelphia from the 5 counties that make up the service area of SEPTA, and asked them each to step up their local investment in the system. Mayor Parker, Commissioner Moskowitz, and each and every one of the county commissioners in those 4 counties outside of Philadelphia stepped up with added funding to support SEPTA. That shows how critically important they are to the region, and the fact that they did that with their local budget shows an important commitment. Mayor, Commissioner, thank you very much for your leadership in that space. Sadly, the Republicans who lead the Senate have been unwilling to come up with a deal to deliver reliable recurring funding for mass transit. They've come up with a ton of excuses, but they haven't come up with the funding. That left SEPTA in a position earlier this summer where they didn't have enough funding for their operating costs at their operating service levels that they want at the fares that they want to charge. So then SEPTA, after their hands being forced by a judge, came to PennDOT to request permission to use $394 million of state capital dollars for their operating costs. I granted that request when SEPTA reached out and asked for our approval, and that now allows SEPTA to stay afloat from an operating perspective for 2 more years. But understand, it meant that they had to move their capital dollars just to use those monies for operating costs. We all know that mass transit requires greater investment, and all of the systems need this investment, including SEPTA. And with that investment must come real reform. As SEPTA has been sounding the alarm for years, This system is now in serious need of capital improvements, and funding is needed to make the kind of upgrades that will keep its ridership safe, including the kind of upgrades that are behind me here with the Silverliners. This fall, the United States Department of Transportation ordered SEPTA to repair its fleet of Silverliner 4 railcars and inspect the overhead wiring systems that trolleys use in Center City and in West Philly. SEPTA immediately took action to address those concerns. They completed a top-to-bottom inspection of all 223 of their Silverliners in just 45 days. They identified the needed safety repairs in order to get these trains back in service. So far, they've completed repairs on more than 100 of those rail cars and returned them to service. At the same time, PennDOT, under the strong and steady leadership of Secretary Mike Carroll, who joins us here today, has stepped up its work with SEPTA to ensure that the rest of the system is operating smoothly. While the FRA, which is the federal agency, oversees and has jurisdiction over these regional rail cars, PennDOT is responsible for overseeing safety inspections of the metro and the trolley systems within SEPTA. So it's a bifurcated oversight system. Secretary Carroll and his great team at PennDOT take that responsibility extremely seriously. Over the past 2 years, under Secretary Carroll's leadership, they've hired designated safety managers that are specifically assigned to SEPTA, and they're currently in the process of bringing on 3 additional safety and inspection staff members, 2 of whom will be solely dedicated to SEPTA and their needs. PennDOT's inspection team is working closely with SEPTA to ensure the overhead catenary system for trolleys is working properly, and they will continue to carefully oversee SEPTA's repairs and SEPTA's upgrades. Every single person who is here today cares deeply about SEPTA, and most importantly, cares deeply about the safety of the riders who take SEPTA every day. Scott Sauer and his team at SEPTA, I believe, have been extremely proactive. After years of neglect, this leadership team is operating effectively. But unfortunately, because SEPTA was forced to flex capital dollars for their operating expenses for these next 2 years, they don't have the capital funds they need to make all of these urgent repairs and safety upgrades. That is why today I'm here to announce that I have directed PennDOT Secretary Mike Carroll to make $219.9 million in additional state capital dollars available for SEPTA to keep riders safe, and at the same time deliver reliable, on-time service. Secretary Carroll has moved forward with this appropriation, sending these dollars to SEPTA for their use. These are flexible dollars allocated for mass transit capital needs across the state, and this support will allow SEPTA to complete repairs and upgrades to their Silverliner fleet so they can operate safely for years to come. As a result, SEPTA will be able to restore full service on regional rail by Christmas time. At the same time, Scott and his team at SEPTA are already working to replace these Silverliner 4s, which are clearly outdated, because we understand it is going to take years for them to be replaced. We have to make these investments right now for the safety and efficacy of their current fleet. I understand that it will take a while for these Silverliners to be replaced. Scott has quoted me 10 years. Look, SEPTA riders don't have the kind of time to wait 10 years, and I don't have the patience to wait 10 years. And I understand he's going to move as quickly as possible. But with this action today, with providing these $220 million, we can ensure that for as long as these rail cars are used, they will be safe and they will be effective modes of transportation for riders in and around the Philadelphia area. SEPTA is going to continue to do this work on the Silverliners. In addition, the $220 million that we're providing SEPTA will allow them to do additional work. They'll be able to lease and purchase up to 30 additional train cars from transit systems in Maryland and Montreal that use similar rail cars, as well as other agencies that they feel meet their specifications. They'll be able to use this money to repair the catenary system and purchase new equipment that will make maintaining those overhead wires faster and easier. They're going to be able to overhaul motor and door operators on cars on the Broad Street line and the Norristown high-speed line to make them more reliable and improve service along those lines. And they'll be able to repair escalators at 13 different SEPTA stations and implement an advanced inspection technology and other safety upgrades at SEPTA's headquarters. As a result of these investments, SEPTA will be able to ensure existing regional rail fleet is safe and reliable for the next number of years they need as the new cars make their way onto SEPTA tracks. Look, my administration is once again stepping up to provide SEPTA with much needed capital dollars to perform these crucial repairs so this system can continue to help people get where they need to go safely. Because, hear me on this, we cannot let SEPTA fail. We have to continue to be there for SEPTA and for all mass transit agencies. It's too important for our economy. It's too important for our communities. It's too important for our entire Commonwealth. Over the past several years, our efforts to deliver recurring funding have been unfortunately blocked by some Republicans who lead the state Senate, who simply refuse to solve this problem for the people of Pennsylvania. So once again, myself and Secretary Carroll have acted within our authority to deliver what SEPTA needs right now. I also appreciate the federal government's oversight role and how they've assisted SEPTA throughout this inspection process. I've met directly with Secretary Duffy, along with Senators McCormick and Fetterman, and appreciate their assistance. Hopefully now the federal government can put their money where their mouth is and step up to assist SEPTA in additional ways. Either way, I want you to know I'm going to continue to be a governor who supports mass transit, who gives a damn about SEPTA, who cares about those 800,000 people that rely on SEPTA every single day, who respects the workers who work here, and who believes that the future is bright for our Commonwealth, in part because of mass transit and the important role it plays here in our Commonwealth. Mass transit is absolutely critical, and we're going to continue to do everything we can to fund it. It is critical, and it is now in the hands of capable leadership, thanks to Scott Sauer. I've had the opportunity to work with Scott over the last several months since he took the helm here at SEPTA, and he has faced an extraordinary number of emergencies and challenges. I appreciate the way he has stepped up and led, and I'm looking forward to his continued leadership over many years to come. Scott, the podium is yours. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor. Good morning. First, let me start by saying on behalf of myself, the hundreds of thousands of riders that use SEPTA every day, our board chair, Ken Lawrence, and vice chair, Mary Moskowitz, and the thousands of employees here at SEPTA, I want to thank Governor Shapiro for his unwavering support of SEPTA, our riders, and the communities we serve. These funds are going to make a significant difference in our efforts to overcome the current crises, but more importantly, to prevent problems moving forward. These past few weeks have been an extremely difficult time for our customers. We've worked through problems with the regional rail fleet and a prolonged shutdown of the Center City Trolley Tunnel for repairs to the overhead wires. We're committed to minimizing these types of disruptions in the future through a comprehensive effort to identify potential problems sooner before they grow and lead to delays, cancellations, or shutdowns. We're looking at every mile of infrastructure, each rail car, bus, and all the other equipment that SEPTA runs to make sure that we are putting out safe and reliable service each day. We're changing inspection and maintenance procedures to ensure we're looking not just for issues today, but what could be coming in the weeks and months ahead. This is part of a commitment that I'm making to our customers. We are going to address areas of need in a more proactive manner, and that is going to maximize our ability to provide reliable service. 2 weeks ago, we reached a major milestone by finishing point-by-point inspections of the entire fleet of 223 Silverliner 4 rail cars, meeting the FRA's deadline. Now we're performing repairs identified during those inspections and installing FRA-mandated high heat detection equipment. SEPTA has the oldest rail fleet in the country, and it needs extra care to stay in good running order. That takes financial support, and we are fortunate to have a governor who gets it. For the second year in a row, Governor Shapiro has stepped up and offered a lifeline to public transit in the Southeast. More than ever before, we now have something that we can look to meet all of the deadlines that we have in front of us and all the challenges that we face. Thanks to the governor, with these new capital dollars, we can move on a number of initiatives that will improve service. This money will be earmarked for projects that can begin quickly, within the next several months, and enhance safety and reliability on the system. For the regional rail fleet, we're leasing cars from Mark in Maryland to add capacity for our trains. And we're talking to agencies across North America about the possibility of similar arrangements. We'll also use these funds to replace parts on our current fleet, from critical power components and propulsion and braking systems to remote diagnostic capabilities. This will allow crews to see the condition of their equipment in real time and stop faults before they occur. We're investing in 3 catenary maintenance cars for the trolley tunnel, the D-line trolleys, and regional rail to support preventive maintenance and inspections of our overhead catenary system. For the subways, we will replace the third rail and overhaul traction motors to improve fleet performance and reliability on the Broad Street line. System-wide, we're installing artificial intelligence cameras to perform remote inspections of critical components, which will provide an advance warning of any issues on our rail fleets. We're also making safety enhancements to our control center to keep our operations running smoothly. This funding will address immediate maintenance needs, but they will also allow us to take proactive steps to prevent these issues from happening to begin with. We've begun to emerge slowly from the low points of the last several months, where at times we've operated regional rail service with about 1/3 of its normal capacity. But thanks to the dedication of our employees, who have been working around the clock, this effort is progressing at a steady rate, and we are returning up to 5 rail cars to service each day. We expect to be close to full strength by mid-December, and these new funds will help keep us on the right trajectory as we bolster our preventive maintenance efforts and our vehicle overhauls. Governor Shapiro, I want to thank you yet again for stepping up with your continued support for transit, and specifically for SEPTA. And we look forward to delivering the results that you demand with these much-needed resources.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to give the podium to Secretary Carroll.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Mike Carroll, the PennDOT Secretary. As Governor Shapiro and I have said many times, just as we repair and maintain bridges for communities in our rural and suburban communities across Pennsylvania, we owe it to Pennsylvanians in our cities and suburbs who take mass transit to be there for them and their families. The Shapiro administration has repeatedly stepped in to help continue delivering for Pennsylvanians across our state, including areas that rely on mass transit. In this region, southeastern Pennsylvania, that recently meant SEPTA continuing its operations while minimizing devastating cuts. And today, I'm glad that we could find a way to get critical funding to SEPTA to make needed repairs and address safety issues. Safety is our top priority, and this administration, by its commitment financially, has proven that. Under the Shapiro administration, the PennDOT team governing certain fixed railway systems has grown, as the governor said, from 1 to 3 people, and soon we will add 3 more. These folks provide safety oversight for some services in Western PA, as well as SEPTA's trolley, subway, and other facilities. This is all on top of annual transit financial audits, as well as rotating performance reviews that are completed every 5 years. SEPTA's review will be completed next year, as is scheduled. The PennDOT team will continue working with SEPTA as they make all of these safety improvements. The department has an active role in inspections and safety compliance for the metro and trolleys, and that will certainly continue. And SEPTA will be in close contact with PennDOT as all of these improvements unfold. But again, as the governor has said, this is not a long-term solution. This is one more example of the critical need for capital funding and operating funding. Sustainable, reliable public transit funding is critical to the economy of Pennsylvania, and it's critical to the economy of Southeast PA. That's what SEPTA needs. That's what every county in Pennsylvania, frankly, needs. On average, 65% of Pennsylvania's fixed-route transit users across the state say they have no other transportation option. In Southwest PA and Fayette County, over 80% have no other option. For Cantram in Cambria County near Johnstown, it's over 88% of folks who have no other choice. That's why we need the state Senate to care about the residents in their own communities and in every community, frankly, to come to an agreement on long-term transit funding. I appreciate the governor's leadership again here today with respect to this unfolding challenge. I know that the governor's commitment to SEPTA has been recognized more than once by speakers today, but I want everyone to know that the governor's leadership here matters greatly, and that the continued work that is done by the SEPTA team in coordination with all of our partners will be to the benefit of all of the residents and the riders of SEPTA, so they have a safe working network. And with that, I'm happy to turn the podium over to my very dear friend, the mayor of the great city of Philadelphia, Mayor Parker.
Thanks, Secretary.
Secretary, thank you, Governor. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Pennsylvania, Bucks, Chester, Delaware, and Montgomery counties, along with our great city of Philadelphia, I am proud on today to join with Chairwoman Marian Moskowitz of the Chester County Commissioners, our Senate Appropriations Chairman Vincent Hughes, House Transportation Committee Chair Ed Nielsen, our Mike Carroll, who leads Otis for the city of Philadelphia, along with Scott Sauer, our leader, our general manager for SEPTA, and coming together on today to affirm and quite frankly say thank you to our governor, Josh Shapiro, our PennDOT secretary, Mike Carroll. Governor, on today, you have done what I see you continuing to do as governor of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and that is you've answered the call for leadership and demonstrated your commitment to an essential tool in Pennsylvania, not just through a speech and words, Governor, because I think that's one of the things that Pennsylvanians and Philadelphians and southeastern Pennsylvanians get very frustrated about with government. They want to see government work. And when you say you care about mass transit, particularly for those of us, Governor, who are elected to public office, they don't want to hear us just say it. They want to see us deliver it in a very tangible and meaningful way. And with this $220 million capital investment in SEPTA, let me say this, Governor, you didn't just talk the talk. You walk the walk, and you and our secretary have made it matter for mass transit here on a day. Please give them a super huge round of applause. Governor, I was also really excited when I got the call about today, because I did quickly take a stroll through my memory to the meeting, the intergovernmental meeting that was convened by our U.S. Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy. And in that meeting, you heard the governor reference it. Our U.S. Senators McCormick and Fetterman, they were there. Our GM for SEPTA, along with many of the federal and state technicians who know all about about everything we just learned about on the tour just now, Governor. And we talked about what it would take to ensure that public health and safety would not be compromised in any way, shape, or form. For that intergovernmental and collaboration as it related to that meeting, I am grateful for it. But on today, Governor, I want to affirm that during that meeting, it was like everybody had a role. There were some very specific things that we could affirm that we were doing to help move the needle and ensure that SEPTA could meet the moment, because Scott Sauer in no way, shape, or form has anything about your leadership affirm that this is just business as usual. You've had a sense of urgency, worked in a very meticulous manner, and quite frankly, I've been impressed by watching the technical leadership that you've provided during this moment. But, Governor, you can't separate that from the need for the dollars. If we want you to be able to get the job done, and the amazing men and women who do this work on a daily basis to make sure that SEPTA's fleet is safe and that we're doing the best we can by our ridership, quite frankly, we need the investment to affirm that. So from a Philadelphia perspective, I just want to affirm this. This past year, SEPTA's weekday ridership peaked at 800,000 passengers per day. Philadelphia, southeastern Pennsylvania, that's the highest level since the pandemic, and it's a key indicator of the region's resurgent post-COVID. Why is that important to us? Roughly 50,000 of the 300,000 people who work in the greater Center City, Philadelphia area, they rely on mass transit. Why is this important, Governor? You and Secretary Carroll know this, because it contributes to the economic success of the greatest job center right here in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and allowing these workers to commute without contributing or experiencing car congestion. That is essential. It's essential for the ridership, but also our communities at large. You know, as a mom and a former teacher, don't forget 119,000 students are in our schools who are eligible to use SEPTA every day. It is, quite frankly, the linchpin of our city and our regional economy. And I thank you, Governor, for affirming, because if you live in Buckchester, Delaware, Montgomery County, and you hear this issue talked about from a state level perspective, Madam Chairwoman, it does feel really good to hear the Governor affirm that locally we've done our homework and done what we need to do. But quite frankly, that spirit of intergovernmental cooperation and collaboration that we saw exhibited when U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy convened that meeting is what we need now in Harrisburg, Governor. So it's my hope that the Republican leadership in the Senate will be working with our chairman, Hughes, and Leader Acosta, to work with Leader Topper, along with Leader Bradford and Appropriations Chairman Harris, and figure out how to GTY on what SEPTA needs most, so we don't have to get back here. That is a sufficient and dedicated recurring revenue source for SEPTA, so that we don't have to put a Band-Aid on problems. They'll have access to the revenue they need to deliver for the people we serve. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I got you. Yeah, no, I got you. I'm going to bring up two of our leaders from the legislature. I do want to acknowledge Representative Howard, who is here with us today, and she has stepped up each and every time the House of Representatives need an affirmative vote for mass transit funding. Representative Howard has done that. Thank you for joining us here today. You are going to hear next from Senator Vincent Hughes, who leads the Appropriations Committee for the Democrats in the Senate, followed by Majority Chairman Ed Nielsen, who leads the Transportation Committee in the House of Representatives. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Good job. So what we have here is not just leadership, Madam Mayor, it's leadership that delivers. Leadership that delivers. Not just talking about doing something, but in fact getting something done. $219.9 million. I read the press release, all right? I counted the numbers. We know the exact dollar figure. We know what's happening. Stepping up in a circumstance where my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have chosen to walk away from. That's just fact. And Governor, you knew when you put me on the list I was going to go down that street, all right? Some folks seem to forget that this is a commonwealth made up of all of the counties, of all of the regions of the state of Pennsylvania. And some of the folks seem to forget that 42% of the state's economy comes out of the SEPTA region. 42% of the state's entire economy comes out of the SEPTA region. But let's make it a little bit more personal. When that young innovator moves into Philadelphia, and surprisingly enough, Governor, I will not say West Philadelphia, all right?
It's big for you.
That's big for me, all right? But when that young innovator catches the fire and moves into East Falls, and they are taking a job in West Philadelphia, in University City, maybe at CHOP, maybe at Drexel, maybe at Penn, maybe at Huff, maybe at the Science Center, maybe at the Science Center. And they are doing the good work of innovation, of creating the next healthcare milestone that saves people's lives. But they can't get to their job because the system is not running at the level it needs to run. That is the personal side of this. That innovation can't happen. That person who may work at the Science Center or may work at Penn Health Systems, that person can't get to the job at 4 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 in the morning because they're taking SEPTA to get there to make sure that they're powering up that hospital system to provide the healthcare services that folks so desperately need. And when I say folks, I'm not talking about just about the folks from this region, Madam Mayor. I'm talking about the folks from Bradford County or Schuylkill County or Monroe County, all right? Or all of the other counties all across the Commonwealth who may want to vote against helping the region that they want to benefit from. So my message is this. This is a great day. Leadership that delivers. Thank you, Secretary Carroll. Thank you, Governor Shapiro. But let's come back to Harrisburg. This gentleman and his caucus and the House of Representatives in a bipartisan fashion passed the governor's proposal 5 times. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 times. 23 Democratic senators are waiting to get this done. 23 of us. Come back, bring us back together, and let's get the job done for all of the people of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. And I'll say this as I turn this over to my friend Chairman Nielsen. We're not settling for less than what this system deserves to have to make itself run. I'm not going to do that. Because we've heard proposals about, well, we'll give you $50 million or $100 million. The governor set a floor of what we need to achieve. The House voted 5 times to make it happen. That's what we need to have to make this thing work. That's it. We're saving lives by doing this, not just for the people in southeastern Pennsylvania, not just for the people for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, but the truth of the matter is we're saving lives for the entire country, because that's what happens when this system is working at its optimal best. It's taking care of the people, taking care of the people. Without any further ado, the gentleman who's led the effort in the House of Representatives to get, I said and I'll say it again, to get the measure passed 5 times. 5 times, Chairman Ed Nielsen.
It's difficult to speak last, but I'm going to give it my best shot. I got 10, 15 pages. If you bear with me, try and get through them, we'll make it work. I don't want to repeat what's already been said, but what we're witnessing today is what real leadership looks like. It's Thanksgiving week. All of us want to be somewhere else. In fact, this morning, I was making baskets and plates for people who need food at Caring for Friends in Northeast Philadelphia, not in West.
It's okay, it's okay.
We're trying to, we all gather our friends and give many thanks for today's, but I'm here to give thanks today to Governor Josh Shapiro. I'm thankful for a governor who refuses to sit on the sidelines. This is a governor, we all said it, but they didn't say it right, who gets shit done, all right? He gets shit done. As the majority chair of transportation, we've been fighting for what's needed, not just for Southeast PA, for all 67 counties. We took our show on the road. We went Pittsburgh, Indiana, Johnstown, Erie. We took it on the road, and we explained to all the counties and all the commissioners, all the elected officials throughout, and they too stood with us and said, we need this transportation funding. We need it. Many of us here live the story. We passed it 5 times. 5 times. Bipartisan. On bipartisanship. It wasn't a partisan vote. It was bipartisan. And we sent it to fully fund transit across the Commonwealth. But the Senate Republicans, I'll say it too, Vince, failed to act. While others criticized and pointed fingers, Governor Shapiro, along with the House and Senate Democrats, worked tirelessly for almost 4 years to deliver a dedicated and sustainable funding stream for SEPTA and every other transit agency across the Commonwealth. And when Senate Republicans finally decided to come to the table, they brought a proposal that would have taken $419 million out of mass transit in the first year. $419 million. They didn't fund anything. So thank you, Governor, for once again stepping in and doing the jobs that the Republican Senate refused to do. Because of your leadership, more than $219 million will now allow SEPTA to restore typical weekday regional rail service by the end of the year and give riders a real, tangible relief. As elected officials, we try not to take things personally. For me, it's a personal issue. I fought for working families my entire adult life, and transit has been part of my family story for generations. My grandfather drove a SEPTA bus. My uncle fixed them. My wife and 5 sons ride SEPTA. 800 parents, workers, and students rely on SEPTA every single day. Without SEPTA, Pennsylvania's economy grinds to a halt. And our governor understands that. He gets it. So I want to thank General Manager Scott Sawyer for the entire SEPTA team for moving quickly to inspect the Silverliner fleet and return all the cars to service. And to the workforce, the men and women at TWU and SMART, all the frontline workers, thank you for working around the clock to make sure my family can get to where they got to go safely. The eyes of the world will be on Pennsylvania, as the governor said, in 2026, more than they already are. Every county, rural, suburban, and urban district relies on public transit. We're all in this together. So again, I'm grateful to Governor Shapiro for today's action and for his consistent leadership to protect and strengthen our mass transit systems. We still have more work ahead, and I look forward to working with everybody to get this done. Thank you, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to invite Scott back up, and if the press has any questions, the governor and General Manager Scott Sauer will be glad to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Yes, sir. Yeah, we'll invite the Secretary up as well, and Will, if there's questions from the media, we're happy to take some. Yeah, go ahead.
Pardon me. Governor, is this discretionary money from the trust fund? How much say do you have over that trust fund money? And is this something you could have done sooner?
SEPTA requested assistance and we acted immediately. This is a fund that the Secretary controls of capital dollars that is available for mass transit all across the Commonwealth. As for the balance, you can speak to that issue, Mr. Secretary.
So these are flexible capital dollars, as the governor said. We were able to direct the $219 million at SEPTA's request, and there was a remaining balance of somewhere in the neighborhood of $140 million.
If we don't get this money, like, talk about the other end. If this money doesn't come, what is life like for SEPTA and riders without this money?
Well, this is a true lifeline. These are funds that we would have had to find elsewhere to do this work, because this work had to get done. So we had to find $200 million of capital dollars from somewhere else in order to get this work done. It's not budgeted. It was not in our capital program that we put forward, even after the transfer that the governor allowed us to do back in September. So this was funding we would have had to find somewhere else, which probably would have meant more projects being deferred.
This funding, I know there's more money to lease more cars, potentially buy cars. Is this money paying for the cars you already leased from Mark, or is it more cars coming from Mark?
It's to address the Mark lease and to allow us to go find other potential leases or procurements of existing vehicles that are out in the country somewhere that we need to find.
I mean, I'll just ask one, just the obvious question is your message to riders. They see this, they see you guys talking, the delays, cancellations. Obviously, it's been a hot mess. What do you want to say to riders?
Yeah, well, I certainly want to thank the riders for their patience with us. You know, it has been a strenuous, not just these last 2 months that we've dealt with this, but even before that, through all the funding issues and the service cuts, and it certainly has been a tumultuous summer and fall for our ridership. But what I would say to them now going forward is, we have a path forward. We can now see, with the return of express service later this afternoon, more and more cars coming back every day. And what we now have is not just a path forward. We're going to work to get the cars forward, but now we can do lots of other things that we did not have funding to do, that will allow us to get in front of crises. We can now do some preventive work, look for the next problem that's out on the horizon before it impacts customers.
Great. Anything else?
Scott, real quickly, I know it's been addressed a couple of times, the call with the federal delegation with Transportation Secretary Duffy and the governor saying he hopes they step up. Is there a sense that the federal government might step in to provide some help?
So on the funding side, I've not been told that there's any immediate funding on the horizon. Where I certainly appreciate the federal government's assistance has been throughout this process of bringing the cars back, doing the inspections. They've lent us their expertise. They've dedicated hundreds of hours to SEPTA to help us find our way forward. And I've heard from the FRA themselves that they believe that we have turned a corner here. And so I'm appreciative of that.
Great. Let me thank everybody for being here. I also want to thank my Executive Deputy Chief of Staff, Amanda Warren, who's here. It's really been a glue that has helped bring this package together. Thank you, Amanda, for your strong leadership. And if I don't see all of you, have a blessed and happy Thanksgiving. We have a lot to be thankful for in this Commonwealth and in this country. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you. Get it done. Get it done.